Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books, Goal of Life, given to us by Srila Prabhupada, his expert translations and commentation, his purports on the Srimad-Bhagavatam, written in a way, in English, that we can actually understand. Things that are not so easy to understand. So here we are gathered together, following the suggestions and the teachings of the great souls who are giving us the Srimad-Bhagavatam. We owe everything to Srila Prabhupada, and the best way I can think of to pay him back for what he's done for us, to stay up all night, every night, giving up his sleep, giving up his health, giving up his life to get these books to us, is to reciprocate with him by hearing them as much as possible in the association of others who like to hear them. Hare Krishna. All right. Welcome to all of you out in cyberspace. We've reached the 4th canto, 8th chapter of the Srimad-Bhagavatam. We're hearing about the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj. This pastime is so sweet and so profound because it's about a 5-year-old boy and how he took to pure devotional service, that it's either Vishwanath or Sanatan or one of our great acharyas tells us that when Krishna and the gopis used to roam through the forest and join together, the forest, sometimes the gopis would ask Krishna to tell them the story of Dhruva Maharaj. Wow. And they would come to tears hearing about this pastime because he was only a 5-year-old boy, you know, and they just loved to hear about him. So, before we do, we'll hear Sanatana Goswami's beautiful prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam and explaining to us what it is. Srimad-Bhagavata Mahima Stotram. It's from a Sri Krishna Lila Stava book written by Sanatana Goswami, and his idea was to write in simple Sanskrit, vocative Sanskrit, very simple form and simple thoughts, not detailed and elaborate like the Bhagavatam, but just to jog our memory. He was glorifying the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan and planning to offer 108 obeisances to Vrindavan Leela, the Vrindavan Leela of Krishna. And this is the 107th obeisance out of 108 obeisances that he offered in this Krishna Leela Stava. It's verse 412 through 416, in case you want to get the book and hear the rest of it. It goes like this. Sarva Shastabdi Piyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnaja Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kali Dvandudita Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who is supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Madeka Bando Matsangin Madguro Man Mahadana Man Nistadanga Madbhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini chochata kada hanamuncha gadachin mam premna rit kantayospuda. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Dhruva Maharaj went to the forest. So he's out in the forest, and Krishna, who knows everything, knew what he was up to. So he sent Narada Muni to him. So now Narada Muni has met Dhruva, and he said to Dhruva, "You're a 5-year-old boy, what are you doing out here in the forest? You're too young, you should have a life of sporting and play before you do this, go home." And we learn from Prabhupada's purports and from the verses themselves that he was testing Dhruva. The spiritual master sometimes tests the disciple, and we heard a little bit about that subject last night in the reflections and the questions and answers. Okay, so now he's passed the test, and Narada Muni is explaining to him what the process of mystic yoga is. And this isn't necessarily a process that we should try to imitate or adopt at this time and place, because it's not possible for us. But the essence of it, in terms of devotion and the results, are very similar. So, we're reading Canto 4, Chapter 8, beginning with text 46. Narada is talking to Dhruva. Narada Muni continued, "The Lord's form is always youthful. Every part and every limb and every part of his body is properly formed, free from defect. His eyes and lips are pinkish, like the rising sun. He is always prepared to give shelter to the surrendered soul. And anyone so fortunate as to look upon him feels all satisfaction. The Lord is always worthy to be the master of the surrendered soul, for he is the ocean of mercy." Purport: everyone has to surrender to someone superior. That is always the nature of our living condition. At the present moment, we are trying to surrender to someone, either to society or to our nation, family, state, or government. The surrendering process always exists, but it is never perfect, because the person or institution unto whom we surrender is imperfect. And our surrender, having so many ulterior motives, is also imperfect. As such, in the material world, no one is worthy to accept anyone's surrender, nor does anyone fully surrender to anyone else unless obliged to do so. But here the surrendering process is voluntary, and the Lord is worthy to accept the surrender. This surrender by the living entity occurs automatically as soon as he sees the beautiful, youthful nature of the Lord. The description given to Narada Muni is not imaginary. The form of the Lord is understood by the Parampara system. Mayavadi philosophers say that we have to imagine the form of the Lord. But here Narada Muni does not say that. Rather, he gives the description of the Lord from authoritative sources. He is himself an authority, and he is able to go to Vaikuntha Loka and see the Lord personally. Therefore, his description of the bodily features of the Lord is not imagination. Sometimes we give instructions to our students about the bodily features of the Lord, and they paint him. Their paintings are not imaginary. The description is given through disciplic succession. Just like that given by Narada Muni, who sees the Lord and describes his bodily features. Therefore, such descriptions should be accepted. And if they are painted, that is not imaginative painting. There's a verse in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 7th chapter, idam jnanam te jnanam, idam vaksham asheshataha, yad gyatvat neha bhuyonyaj gyatavam avashishate. So here Krishna is saying that if you get knowledge plus realization or application of the knowledge, vijnana, then you become satisfied because there's nothing more to know. So we may know about Krishna, but when we hear about Krishna's form from a person who has actually seen him face to face, then we do, it's more than knowing. It's actually getting the real idea. It's not just somebody's imagination. So that's what's happening here. Narada Muni, he sees Krishna face to face. He regularly goes to Vaikuntha and sees him. So when he explains the form, we're hearing exactly what the form is like from a self-realized soul. Text 47. The Lord is further described as having the mark of Srivats, or the sitting place of the goddess of fortune, and his bodily hue is deep bluish. The Lord is a person. He wears a garland of flowers, and he is eternally manifest with 4 hands, which hold, beginning from the lower left hand, a conch shell, wheel, club, and lotus flower. Purport. Here in this verse, the word Purusham is very significant. The Lord is never female, he is always male, Purusha. Therefore, the impersonalist who imagines the Lord's form as that of a woman is mistaken. The Lord appears in female form if necessary, but his perpetual form is Purusha, because he is originally male. The female feature of the Lord is displayed by goddesses of fortune, Lakshmi, Radharani, Sita, etc. All these goddesses of fortune are servitors of the Lord. They are not the supreme, as falsely imagined by the impersonalist. Lord Krishna, in his Narayana feature, is always 4-handed. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, when Arjuna wanted to see his universal form, he showed this feature of 4-handed Narayana. Some devotees are of the opinion that Krishna is an incarnation of Narayana, but the Bhagavata school says that Narayana is a manifestation of Krishna. Text 48. The entire body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, is decorated. He wears a valuable jeweled helmet, necklaces, and bracelets. His neck is adorned with the Kaustuba jewel, and he is dressed in yellow silk garments. Text 49. The Lord is decorated with small golden bells around his waist, and his lotus feet are decorated with golden ankle bells. All his bodily features are very attractive and pleasing to the eyes. He is always peaceful, calm, and quiet, and very pleasing to the eyes and the mind. Text 50. Real yogis meditate upon the transcendental form of the Lord as he stands on the whorl of the lotus of their hearts, the jewel-like nails of his lotus feet glittering. Text 51. The Lord is always smiling, and the devotee should constantly see the Lord in this form as he looks very mercifully toward the devotee. In this way, the meditator should look toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the bestower of all benedictions. Purport. The word niyatena is very significant in this connection, for it indicates that one should execute the meditation practice as stated above. One should not manufacture a way of meditation on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but should follow the authorized shastras and personalities. By this prescribed method, one can practice concentration upon the Lord until one is so fixed that he remains in trance, thinking always of the form of the Lord. The word used here is ekabhutena, which means with great attention and concentration. If one concentrates on the descriptions of the bodily features of the Lord, one will never fall down. I'll repeat that. Very important point. If one concentrates on the descriptions of the bodily features of the Lord, he will never fall down. So this is very important, because hearing the descriptions of the bodily features of the Lord is not different than seeing the bodily features of the Lord. So even if we don't have the ability to visualize, which not very many people do in the Kali Yuga, the subtle body is so bombarded with so many things, contaminations from cell phones and internet, Wi-Fi systems, and television and radio, and God knows nowadays what they're broadcasting from, outer space, developing their new kinds of weapons that God only knows what they're going to do to us eventually.
Shut the telephone towers down.
But if we do concentrate on hearing the descriptions of the form of the Lord given in these self-realized scriptures, and try to remember them and try to appreciate them, it's non-different from meditation on the form. Same. Text 52. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the always auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination. And he does not come down from meditation upon the Lord. It looks like Giriraj Swami's on his way. Usually the entourage comes first, right? Is it? Am I right?
No, we just wanted to...
Oh, that's even more auspicious. I'm feeling very good about that. Hare Krishna. Coming to hear about Krishna. We just heard that by hearing attentively and trying to remember the descriptions of the Lord's form given in these scriptures, it's actually non-different than meditating on the form of the Lord. Because the descriptions of the Lord's form and the form of the Lord are absolute. They're the same. So you can meditate on the form of the Lord like this, just by hearing, trying to appreciate, and then trying to remember and recall. One who meditates in this way, concentrating his mind upon the always auspicious form of the Lord, is very soon freed from all material contamination. And he does not come down from meditation on the Lord. Purport. This fixed meditation is called samadhi, or trance. A person constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Lord cannot be deviated from meditating on the form of the Lord, as described herein. The Archana Marga, or the devotional path prescribed in the Pancharatra system of devotional service for worshipping the deity in the temple, makes the devotee think constantly of the Lord. That is samadhi, or trance. One who practices in this way cannot deviate from the service of the Lord, and that makes him perfect in the mission of human life. Text 53. O son of the king, now I shall speak unto you the mantra, which is to be chanted with this process of meditation. One who carefully chants this mantra for 7 nights can see the perfect human beings flying in the sky. So there you go. If you just, okay, now we know how to do that. Purport. Within the universe there is a planet called Siddhaloka. The inhabitants of Siddhaloka are by nature perfect in the yoga achievements, which are of 8 varieties. One can become smaller than the smallest, lighter than the lightest, or bigger than the biggest. One can immediately get whatever he likes. One can even create a planet, etc. These are some of the yogic perfections. By virtue of the Laghima siddhi, or purificatory process to become lighter than the lightest, the inhabitants of Siddhaloka can fly in the sky without airplanes or airships. It is hinted herein by Narada Muni to Dhruva Maharaj that by meditating upon the transcendental form of the Lord and at the same time chanting the mantra, one becomes so perfect within 7 days that he can see the human beings who fly in the sky. Narada Muni uses the word japa, which indicates that the mantra to be chanted is very confidential. One may ask, if it is confidential, why is it mentioned in the writing of Srimad-Bhagavatam? It is confidential in this sense. One may receive a published mantra anywhere, but unless it is accepted through the chain of disciplic succession, the mantra does not act. It is said by authoritative sources that any mantra chanted without having been received from the disciplic succession has no efficacy. Another point established in this verse is that meditation should be carried on with the chanting of a mantra. Chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is the easiest process of meditation in this age. As soon as one chants the Hare Krishna mantra, he sees the forms of Krishna, Rama, and their energies. And that is the perfect stage of trance. One should not artificially try to see the form of the Lord while chanting Hare Krishna. But when the chanting is performed offenselessly, the Lord will automatically reveal himself to the view of the chanter. The chanter therefore has to concentrate on hearing the vibration, and without extra endeavor on his part, the Lord will automatically appear. Text 54. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is the 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should install the physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs exactly according to the rules and regulations prescribed by authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. Purport. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya is known as the Dwadashakshara mantra. This mantra is chanted by Vaishnava devotees, and it begins with pranava, or omkara. There is an injunction that those who are not brahmanas cannot pronounce the pranava mantra. But Dhruva Maharaj was born a Kshatriya. He at once admitted before Narada Muni that as a Kshatriya, he was unable to accept Narada's instruction of renunciation and mental equilibrium, which are the concern of a Brahmana. Still, although not a Brahmana, but a Kshatriya, Dhruva was allowed, on the authority of Narada, to pronounce the pranava omkara. This is very significant. Especially in India, the caste Brahmanas object greatly when persons from other castes who were not born in Brahmana families recite this pranava mantra. In Bhagavad Gita, the Lord personally accepts that anyone, even one of lower species, can be elevated to the highest position and go back home, back to Godhead, simply if he worships properly. The prescribed rules, as stated here by Narada Muni, are that one should accept the mantra through a bona fide spiritual master and hear the mantra in the right ear. Not only should one chant or murmur the mantra, but in front of him he must have the deity or physical form of the Lord. Of course, when the Lord appears, it is no longer a physical form. For example, when an iron rod is made red hot in a fire, it is no longer iron, it is fire. Similarly, when we make a form of the Lord, whether of wood or stone or metal or jewels or paint or even pixels, yeah, it's the same. Pixels, you see in the form of the Lord on your computer screen or on your phone, it's the same. Similarly, when we make a form of the Lord, whether of wood or stone or metal or jewels or paint or even a form within the mind, it is a bona fide, spiritual, transcendental form of the Lord. Not only one must receive the mantra from the bona fide spiritual master, like Narada Muni or its representative in the disciplic succession, but one must chant the mantra. And not only one must chant, but he must offer whatever foodstuff is available in his part of the world, according to time and convenience. The method of worship, chanting the mantra, and preparing the forms of the Lord is not stereotyped, nor is it exactly the same everywhere. It is specifically mentioned in this verse that one should take consideration of the time, place, and available conveniences. Our Krishna consciousness movement is going on throughout the entire world, and we also install deities in different centers. Sometimes our Indian friends, puffed up with concocted notions, criticize. This has not been done. That has not been done. But they forget this instruction of Narada Muni to one of the greatest Vaishnavas, Dhruva Maharaj. One has to consider the particular time, country, and conveniences. What is convenient in India may not be convenient in the Western countries. Those who are not actually in the line of the acharyas, or who personally have no knowledge of how to act in the role of an acharya, unnecessarily criticize the activities of the ISKCON movement in countries outside of India. And even sometimes the Indian-bodied devotees criticize the Western devotees, even outside of India, in our ISKCON temples. Let those who have ears hear. That's what we're trying to do. That's one of the reasons why I've come to stay here for as many years as I'm going to stay, to try to develop an enclave of Western-bodied, full-time devotees, with the help of those full-time Indian-bodied transcendentalists who are in this room with us today. Hare Krishna. It's a big task, but it will be done. The fact is, I'm getting back to the purport now. The fact is that such critics cannot do anything personally to spread Krishna consciousness. If someone does go and preach, taking all risks and allowing all considerations for time and place, it might be that there are changes in the matter of worship, but that is not at all faulty, according to Shastra. Srimad Viraraghava Acharya, an acharya in the disciplic succession of the Ramanuja Sampradaya, has remarked in this commentary that chandalas, or conditioned souls who were born in lower than Shudra families, can also be initiated according to circumstances. The formalities may be slightly changed here and there to make them Vaishnavas. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that his name should be heard in every nook and corner of the world. How is this possible unless one preaches everywhere? The cult of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Bhagavata Dharma, and he especially recommends Krishna Katha, or the cult of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad-Bhagavatam. He recommends that every Indian, considering this task to be para upakara, or welfare activity, take the Lord's message to other residents of the world. Other residents of the world does not refer only to those who are exactly like the Indian Brahmanas and Kshatriyas, or like the caste Brahmanas, who claim to be Brahmanas because they were born in the families of Brahmanas. The principle that only Indians and Hindus should be brought into the Vaishnava cult is a mistaken idea. There should be propaganda to bring everyone to the Vaishnava cult. The Krishna consciousness movement is meant for this purpose. There is no bar to propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, even among people who are born in Chandala, Mlecha, or Yavana families. Even in India, this point has been enunciated by Srila Sanatana Goswami in his book, Hari Bhakti Vilas, which is Smriti and is the authorized Vedic guide for Vaishnavas in their daily behavior. Sanatana Goswami says that as bell metal can turn to gold when mixed with mercury in a chemical process, so by the bona fide diksha or initiation method, anyone can become a Vaishnava. One should take initiation from a bona fide spiritual master coming in disciplic succession, who was authorized by his predecessor, spiritual master. This is called Diksha Vidhana. Lord Krishna states in the Bhagavad Gita, Vyapashritya, one should accept a spiritual master. By this process, the entire world can be converted to Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada walked his talk. He walked his talk. He came to the West and he converted us. No one else could do it. No one else even wanted to try. The speakers do it. Text 55. One should worship the Lord by offering pure water, pure flower garlands, fruits, flowers, and vegetables, which are available in the forest, or by collecting newly grown grasses, small buds of flowers, or even the skins of trees, and if possible, by offering tulsi leaves, which are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. It is specifically mentioned herein that tulsi leaves are very dear to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and devotees should take particular care to have tulsi leaves in every temple and center of worship. In the Western countries, while engaged in propagating the Krishna consciousness movement, we were brought great unhappiness because we could not find tulsi leaves. We were very much obliged, therefore, to our disciple, Srimati Govinda Dasi, right in the verse, right in the purport, because she has taken much care to grow tulsi plants from seeds, and she has been successful by the grace of Krishna. Now tulsi plants are growing in almost every center of our movement. Tulsi leaves are very important in the method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In this verse, the word salilai means by the water. Of course, Dhruva Maharaja was worshipping on the bank of the Jamuna. The Jamuna and the Ganges are sacred, and sometimes devotees in India insist that the deity must be worshipped with the water of the Ganges or Jamuna. But here we understand desha kala to mean according to time and country. In the Western countries, there is no river Jamuna or Ganges. Water from such sacred rivers is not available. Does this mean that the Archa worship should for that reason be stopped? No. Salilai refers to any water, whatever is available, but it must be very clear and collected purely. That water can be used. And to add one point, you can make the water, Ganges water, with the following mantra. You put this finger in the water, if you're a male, with your Brahman's thread, and if you're a Brahman, around, and you chant this mantra, Gange cha, Jamuni chaiva, Saraswati, Godavari Saraswati, Narmade Sandhu Kaviri, Jalispin Sinidim Kuru. And then you go, Jai Shri Krishna, Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Shri Krishna, like that all around 10 times. And you'll make your water, Ganges water, by the mantra. Okay. Tulsi leaves are very important. The other paraphernalia, such as flower garlands, fruits and vegetables, should be collected according to the country, according to their availability. Tulsi leaves are very important for satisfying the Lord. So far as possible, an arrangement should be made for growing Tulsi leaves. Dhruva Maharaja was advised to worship the Lord with the fruits and flowers available in the forest. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna frankly says that he accepts vegetables, fruits, flowers, etc. One should not offer Lord Vasudeva anything other than what is prescribed herein by the great authority, Narada Muni. One cannot offer to the deity according to one's whims. Since these fruits and vegetables are available anywhere in the universe, we should observe this small point very attentively. Text 56. It is possible to worship a form of the Lord made of physical elements, such as earth, water, pulp, wood, and metal. In the forest, one can make a form with no more than earth and water, and worship him according to the above principles. A devotee who has full control over his self should be very sober and peaceful, and must be satisfied simply by eating whatever fruits and vegetables are available in the forests. Purport. It is essential for a devotee to worship the form of the Lord, and not only meditate upon the form of the Lord within his mind with the chanting of the mantra given by the spiritual master. The worship of the form must be present. The impersonalist takes unnecessary trouble to meditate upon or worship something impersonal, and the path is very precarious. We are not advised to follow the impersonalist way of meditating on or worshipping the Lord. Dhruva Maharaj was advised to worship a form made of earth and water, because in the jungle, if it is not possible to have a form made of metal, wood, or stone, the best process is to take earth mixed with water and make a form of the Lord and worship him. The devotee should not be anxious about cooking food. Whatever is available in the forest or in the city among the fruit and vegetable group should be offered to the deity, and the devotee should be satisfied eating that. He should not be anxious to have very palatable dishes. Of course, wherever it is possible, one should offer the deities the best foodstuffs, prepared within the category of fruits and vegetables, cooked or uncooked. Prabhupada used to kind of make a joke that sometimes in India, the big families, the very rich families, they have a separate temple with beautiful deities installed, and even sometimes it's on the roof in a special house or whatever. But then when it comes time to feed the Lord, they'll just open the door, throw in a banana, and close the door. And then they'll go and cook a huge feast for their family. You know, and they use the excuse, but it says in Shastra, just a fruit, a leaf. We're following this Shastra, So that's what Prabhupada means here. You don't just, throw in a leaf and close the door and say that's it, and then cook opulent things for yourself and things that you can get all over the world. That doesn't work. The Lord will not be very pleased by that. The important factor is that the devotee should be regulated, mitabuk. That is one of the good qualifications of a devotee. He should not hanker to satisfy the tongue with a particular kind of foodstuff. He should be satisfied to eat whatever prasad is available by the grace of the Lord. Text 57. My dear Dhruva, besides worshipping the deity and chanting the mantra 3 times a day, you should meditate upon the transcendental activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His different incarnations, as exhibited by His supreme will and personal potencies. Purport. Devotional service comprises 9 prescribed practices: hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, serving, offering everything to the deity, etc. Dhruva Maharaj is advised not only to meditate on the form of the Lord, but to think of His transcendental pastimes in His different incarnations. Mayavadi philosophers take the incarnation of the Lord to be in the same category as the ordinary living entity. This is a great mistake. The incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is not forced to act by the material laws of nature. The word swechcha is used here to indicate that He appears out of His supreme will. The conditioned soul is forced to accept a particular type of body according to his karma given by the laws of material nature, under the direction of the Supreme Lord. But when the Lord appears, He is not forced by the dictation of material nature. He appears as He likes, by His own internal potency. That is the difference. The conditioned soul accepts a particular type of body, such as the body of a hog, by his work, and by the superior authority of material nature. But when Lord Krishna appears in the incarnation of a boar, He is not the same kind of hog as an ordinary animal. Krishna appears as Varaha avatar in an expansive feature which cannot be compared to an ordinary hog's. His appearance and disappearance are inconceivable to us. In the Bhagavad Gita it is clearly said that He appears by His own internal potency for the protection of the devotees and the annihilation of the non-devotees. A devotee should always consider that Krishna does not appear as an ordinary human being or ordinary beast. His appearance as Varahamurti, or a horse or tortoise, is an exhibition of His internal potency. In the Brahma Samhita, it is said, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhabita Bihi. One should not mistake the appearance of the Lord as a human being or as a beast to be the same as the birth of an ordinary conditioned soul who is forced to appear by the laws of nature, whether as an animal, as a human being, or as a demigod. This kind of thinking is offensive. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has condemned the Mayavadis as offensive to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because of their thinking that the Lord and the conditioned living entities are one and the same. Narada advises Dhruva to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, which is as good as the meditation of concentrating one's mind on the form of the Lord. I will read that again, just in case we didn't get it the first time. Narada advises Dhruva to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, which is as good as the meditation of concentrating one's mind on the form. Now I want to go into this. Narada advises Dhruva to meditate on the pastimes of the Lord, which is as good as the meditation of concentrating one's mind on the form of the Lord. Means if you're hearing the pastimes and you're trying to remember them, you're trying to understand them, you're trying to remember them, and you remember them by that process, it's as good as fixing your mind on the form of the Lord. As meditation on any form of the Lord is valuable, so is chanting of different names of the Lord, such as Hari, Govinda, and Narayana. But in this age we are especially advised to chant the Hare Krishna mantra as enunciated in the Shastra Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. What a wonderful purport.
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya has made it so easy. We can't even make an excuse. No excuses. Text 58. One should follow in the footsteps of previous devotees regarding how to worship the Supreme Lord with the prescribed paraphernalia. Or one should offer worship within the heart by reciting the mantra to the personality of Godhead, who is non-different from the mantra. Purport. It is recommended here that even if one cannot arrange to worship the forms of the Lord with all recommended paraphernalia, one can simply think about the form of the Lord and mentally offer everything recommended in the Shastras, including flowers, chandan pulp, conch shell, umbrella, fan, and chamara. One can meditate upon offering and chant the 12-syllable mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Since the mantra and the Supreme Personality of Godhead are non-different, one can worship the form of the Lord with the mantra in the absence of physical paraphernalia. The story of the Brahmana who worshipped the Lord within his mind, as related in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu or the Nectar Devotion, should be consulted in this connection. Now I would like to make a point, if you don't mind. Could I get permission of the permission? You see, when we take initiation, Prabhupada only asks us to make two vows. One is to follow the regulated principle strictly, and the other is to chant 16 rounds of the Hare Krishna mantra, trying to chant without offense. He didn't have us make a vow to do Harinam on the streets, although he wanted us to, and he told us to, and we should. But I'm talking about the vow is the most important thing. So I'm here to promote this idea about concentrating on the quality of your japa, as is being described here in this purport and these past few purports. If you concentrate on your japa, this is the perfect way for perfect meditation on the Lord, for complete perfection, by following Prabhupada's instructions and chanting 16 rounds every day, trying to avoid offense, following regular principles. Prabhupada promised that we would go back to Godhead just by doing that. Of course, if you do that every day, then gradually you will come to higher stages of realization and thought and all those things. But even if you can't, even if you don't, because Prabhupada promised that, and he's so dear to Krishna, that because he promised it, Krishna, he takes it, that he feels obliged to fulfill that desire. And he's sitting in our hearts, noting, taking notes. If paraphernalia is not present physically, one can think of the items and offer them to the deity by chanting the mantra. Such are the liberal and potent facilities in the process of devotional service. Text 59 and 60. Anyone, I repeat that, anyone who thus engages in the devotional service of the Lord, seriously and sincerely, with his mind, words, and body, and who is fixed in the activities of the prescribed devotional methods, is blessed by the Lord according to his desire. If a devotee desires material religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation from the material world, he is awarded these results. Purport. Devotional service is so potent that one who renders devotional service can receive whatever he likes as a benediction from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls are very much attached to the material world, and thus by performing religious rites, they want the material benefits known as dharma and artha. Text 61. If one is very serious about liberation, he must stick to the process of transcendental loving service, engaging 24 hours a day in the highest stage of ecstasy. And he must certainly be aloof from all activities of sense gratification. Purport. There are different stages of perfection according to different persons' objectives. Generally, people are karmis, for they engage in activities of sense gratification. Above the karmis are the jnanis, who are trying to become liberated from material entanglement. Yogis are still more advanced because they meditate on the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And above all these are the devotees, who simply engage in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. They are situated seriously on the topmost platform of ecstasy. Here Dhruva Maharaj is advised that if he has no desire for sense gratification, then he should directly engage himself in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The path of apavarga, or liberation, begins from the stage called moksha. In this verse, the word vimuktaye, for liberation, is especially mentioned. If one wants to be happy, can somebody make a note and then tell me afterwards? The word, maybe I can do it with this. In the Veda base, most recent one, it's got he happy instead of be happy.
It says that in mine.
Yeah. It's in the book. Oh, this is serious. You see?
Yeah.
But you can't change anything.
My pocket readers also reads he happy.
But you can't change anything. You can't change anything. It should stay he happy. I rest my case. Isn't it? Every time. Every single time. Every single time. Something needs to be changed, it should be changed. Never mind when it is. Okay. I'm just making a little note here. I'm highlighting it. Okay. If one wants to he happy, we should leave it. People can think that that's how Prabhupada does things.
We're going to turn it off.
If one wants to be happy within this material world, he may aspire to go to the different material planetary systems where there's a higher standard of sense gratification. But real moksha, or liberation, is performed without any such desire. This is explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu by the term anyabhilashita shunyam, without desire for material sense gratification. For persons who are still inclined to enjoy material life in different stages or on different planets, the stage of liberation in Bhakti Yoga is not recommended. Only persons who are completely free from the contamination of sense gratification can execute Bhakti Yoga, or the process of devotional service, very purely. The activities on the path of apavarga, up to the stages of dharma, artha, and kama, are meant for sense gratification. But when one comes to the stage of moksha, the impersonal liberation, the practitioner wants to merge into the existence of the Supreme. But that is also sense gratification. When one goes above the stage of liberation, however, he at once becomes one of the associates of the Lord to render transcendental loving service. That is technically called vimukti. For this specific vimukti liberation, Narada Muni recommends that one directly engage himself in devotional service. So the word, the prefix V, means very. So mukti means liberation, and vimukti means very liberated. It means the perfection of liberation, to be an associate of the Lord personally. Text 63. When Dhruva Maharaj, the son of the king, was thus advised by the great sage Narada, he circumambulated Narada, his spiritual master, and offered him respectful obeisances. Then he started for Madhuvan, which is always imprinted with the lotus footprints of Lord Krishna, and which is therefore especially auspicious. Text 63. After Dhruva entered Madhuvan forest to execute devotional service, the great sage Narada thought it wise to go to the king to see how he was faring within the palace. When Narada Muni approached, the king received him properly, offering him due obeisances. After being seated comfortably, Narada began to speak. Text 64. So I'll stop the reading here. Hare Krishna. And ask for reflections. Any point that came out during the reading that's stuck in your mind that you want to reflect on or discuss further or question or whatever. And yes, Karunamai. It should be. Yes.
Two things, Marge. Is that true that that's the only place that that Prabhupada mentioned one of his disciples by name in that purport with Govinda Dasi?
I mean, he definitely mentions him in different places. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, he mentions Chaitanya Maharaj in his concluding words. He mentions he mentions Ramananda. He mentions Pradyumna. He mentions Jayadvaita. I mean, he mentions Jayananda.
Okay.
There's a number of devotees that helped in the beginning that he mentions.
Okay.
I would say that that concluding words of the Chaitanya Charitamrita are very intimate. The devotees he mentions at the end of those, he's thanking very intimately because they have a lot to do with the production of his books.
Thank you. The other question was about preaching, about, the Prabhupada having been, really innovative and thinking completely outside the box when he came to, and he was dealing with the devotees. And this probably comes up often, but he was dealing with the devotees, with people of a certain age, in a certain time, with certain cultural, tendencies, and the times have changed so much. So to what extent, what would you say is the baseline for innovation? Like how?
Baseline for innovation is if you can talk to Krishna face to face. Srila Prabhupada gave us the baseline that's going to last for a long time. If you read these purports carefully and you open your eyes and look out the window, you'll see it's practically the same. Maybe some little more different level of contamination because of the internet being there or whatever, the age that people start getting into things, but the general principles are pretty much the same. As a matter of fact, sometimes when I'm reading these purports, and I think, well, that's just exactly what's going on now, etc., etc. So, innovation does not mean to change the principles. It may mean you say a word, use a different word, or something like that. There's a very nice purport in the first canto, fourth chapter, first verse, in which Srila Prabhupada defines in principle what realization is. So this is very important because it relates to your question about innovation. Hare Krishna, Anuradha. Hare Bo, Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. I'm going to look it up on this machine. Just take me a second. Couple of seconds. That's what this database is all about, right? First, fourth, first purport. Here it is. Ready? This is the principle that you have to apply in order to innovate. Personal realization does not mean that one should, out of vanity, attempt to show one's own learning by trying to surpass the previous acharya. He must have full confidence in the previous acharya, and at the same time he must realize the subject matter so nicely that he can present the matter for the particular circumstances in a suitable manner. The original purpose of the text must be maintained in italics. Prabhupada very seldom uses italics, but this sentence is in italics. No obscure meaning should be screwed out of it, yet it should be presented in an interesting manner for the understanding of the audience. This is called realization. So we have to keep the principles. We can't change the way we are in order to make ourselves more attractive to the general mass of people. If we do that, then we will gradually dilute and become more like the general mass of people, and we will lose the capacity to bring them in and make them more like the devotees we read in the books, and hopefully the way we are. It's not innovative to... Prabhupada did sometimes bend rule, like he was a sannyasi and he taught his female disciples to put on their saris in the very beginning because they didn't know how to do it, and there was no one else who did. So he did. He didn't undress them, but he showed them what to do, told them what to do while they were doing it, things like that. And he, the sannyasi, said, "You can't do that. This is not," or just the fact that you're associating with the Westerners is not right. You can't do this. You're ruining the Hindu religion. So on these levels, he would innovate in order to help us come to the standard, and then gradually he gave us the standard more and more clearly and more strictly and precisely. So I would say that you can draw a line of innovation in such a way, if you can draw a line of innovation in such a way that brings the person from one place to the standard, then it is acceptable. But if it is to make it easier for that person and that becomes the standard, then that's not innovation, it's something else, it's deviation.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
All right. So it's about the mantra that was recommended in text 53. It says in text 53, "O son of the king, now I shall speak unto you the mantra which is to be chanted with this process of meditation." And then the mantra recommended is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And so my two questions are, why is this mantra different from the Hare Krishna mantra? And is it also recommended in addition to the Hare Krishna mantra?
Thank you very much, Prabhu. It is exactly the same as the Hare Krishna mantra, and therefore we chant it every time before we speak the Bhagavatam. Did you notice? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we chant that. Yeah, we chant that mantra every time before we speak the Bhagavatam. Mm-hmm. And there are devotees who also chant that mantra as a part of their meditation, which is completely fine. But we chant the Hare Krishna Maha mantra because it's recommended in the Kali Sandarbha Upanishad, and it's also recommended by Lord Chaitanya. Okay. When the verse says Hare Nama, that means the Maha mantra, the Hare Krishna Maha mantra, 16 syllables, 16 words, 32 syllable mantras, made up only of the names of Radha and Krishna.
But you said it was the same mantra as the Hare Krishna?
It's same in quality.
Okay.
It's the same in quality.
Okay.
It's talking about the same person.
Gotcha.
And it's also the very first sound in the Bhagavatam. The beginning of the Bhagavatam is Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Okay. Is it considered older than the Hare Krishna mantra? I guess it wouldn't if they're the same quality.
Yeah, they're both eternal.
Okay.
Jiva Goswami explains that although the mantra is eternal, there's never been a time when it did not exist. There's no time and space in the spiritual world. So when we start to talk about things such as this, things that originated in the spiritual world, we can't describe them in terms of time and space. When? Right. We say when only to give an idea of relationship. Hare Krishna, Marcella. Haribol, nice to see you again. Say hello to the cows for us. Thank you. And where was I?
When presents a sense of relativity.
It's outside of time and space.
Yes. So the Jiva Goswami says that the Hare Krishna mantra appeared from the mouth of Srimati Radharani when she was in the state of the highest or most intense feelings of separation from Krishna. Mm-hmm. Therefore we accept it as the highest form of mantra. Okay. Like Krishna, the word Krishna, the sound Krishna, when Krishna plays his flute, the sound that comes out is the Hare Krishna mantra. When it goes into Brahma's ear, it enters as Omkara, the primordial sound. And then when it comes out of Lord Brahma's mouth, it comes out as a Brahma Gayatri mantra. Om Bhur Bhuva Swa, there's a mantra. So all sound, all mantras are contained within those sounds. So ultimately the Hare Krishna mantra is the source of all other sounds, of all other mantras. Therefore it is considered to be the topmost mantra, even though there's no difference. It's like you light a candle, and you light another candle, and you light another kind. They're all the same candle flame. You know, especially if all the wicks are the same and the same candle flame power.
Okay.
It's like that.
Okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Sri.
In the purport of 53, I found this couple of sentences very instructive to me. Prabhupada writes, "One should not artificially try to see the form of the Lord while chanting Hare Krishna, but when the chanting is performed offenselessly, the Lord will automatically reveal himself to the view of the chanter. The chanter therefore has to concentrate on hearing the vibration, and without extra endeavor on his part, the Lord will automatically appear." And sometimes, I think I should imagine some form while chanting mantra, but this statement is clear that I should try to hear Hare Krishna mantra.
Exactly.
That was exactly the way Prabhupada answered that question every time, without fail. If we can't see the form of the Lord or remember the pastimes of the Lord while we're chanting, then we shouldn't try to force ourselves to do that. Because you can't create the form of the mind from your mind. It has to appear. That's the point. But it is also a fact that we chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and that's the source. Just as I was about to say to him before he left, is that, Krishna, he's the original form, but it doesn't mean that there was a time when there was only Krishna's form and there were no other forms. The spiritual world is eternal. All the spiritual forms are eternal, and all the sounds from the spiritual world are eternal, including the Hare Krishna mantra. But we say everything comes from him because that's to deepen our understanding of the relationship that we have with him, and every other thing has with him. So all the incarnations and all of the different forms of the Lord, they're non-different than Krishna, but at the same time they don't exhibit the same degrees or the same mood of spiritual personage than Krishna does. Krishna's activities, everything's contained there. Like Lord Ramachandra is Krishna, non-different than Krishna, but he only has one wife, whereas Krishna has 16,000 something and plus gopis, and he's got it all. Every tendency that every other living being has, and then some, he has, and in full and complete. So, yes, if we meditate on Krishna's name, the sound, and at the same time we do these other things, as described here, worship, cook, honor the prasada, read the Srimad-Bhagavatam and the pastimes of Krishna, until we become familiar enough with them that when we chant, then we will remember those forms, those pastimes. That's why Sanatana Goswami wrote the Krishna Lila Stava, as I said before. He wrote it in very simple Sanskrit, vocative Sanskrit, and it just gave a little hint of the pastime. And it's meant for jogging the memory so that we can remember the details of the Lord's pastimes more easily by hearing the Krishna Lila Stava. And by the same principle, if we chant the Hare Krishna mantra with full faith and love, without argument, and just hear the sound, then the sound goes through the mind, through this intelligence, into the heart, to the soul. Wakes up the soul, and super soul is standing right next to the soul, and can reveal himself in whatever form we want to know him. Okay, we'll stop here. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, everyone, for attending these readings. It means so much to me that you're all here, because it says in the Shastra that this is the only way you can fully relish the pastimes of the Lord, is to hear them in the association of other devotees who really like to hear the pastimes of the Lord. So thank you for giving me that transcendental experience. Hare Krishna. All right.
Putting it on the internet for us.
Thank you. Thanks all of you out in cyberspace. Thanks to all the devotees that are here for there's a big festival going on. I'm like a cave dweller. I sit here. I just stay here and chant Hare Krishna and read the Bhagavatam. But anyway, thanks for all the devotees. Thanks for Guru Bhakti for organizing this whole thing. She's such a powerhouse. And all glories to Narada Muni. All glories to Dhruva Maharaj. Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow, 6:30 Central Time, Mondays through Friday, every day. Tune in to this channel. Hare Krishna.